Welcome to Bard's Gaming Corner. This is my guide on how to build a well thought out cleric in Baldur's Gate 3, the Early Acces Edition. In this Dungeons & Dragons game, the cleric is a perfect combination of a class that offers support to your team members through spells like heal and bless, manipulates and damage enemies with other spells, and every now and then deal damage with normal melee and range based weapons. Having only a party of 4 going toe to toe during combat is not something a cleric can avoid, so I will give you some tips on how to build this class in such a way you can deal with this. I will delve into the best races to pick, on which ability scores to focus, which skills and proficiencies are part of being a cleric, some advice on the spells and on the different domains. Warning beforehand, this is a guide for the cleric in the Early Acces Edition, so it's not complete. As soon as the full game is released, I will upload a more detailed guide. So let's get into it. Best races. The average cleric in a D&D game has 2 abilities that are of the utmost importance. First, of course, Wisdom, which is a big factor in the success of your spells and also countering enemy spells. And next to that, Charisma, since a lot of saving throws use a combination of Wisdom and Charisma. The following races offer the greatest starting bonus to Wisdom. Wood Elf with a +1 bonus to Wisdom and a nifty +2 bonus to Dexterity. Human, a +1 bonus on all abilities. Half Elf, a +1 bonus with a +1 bonus to Dexterity as well. And finally Gold Dwarf, a +1 bonus to Wisdom as well and a +2 bonus in Constitution. Perfect for a more fighter-based cleric. The following races offer the greatest starting bonuses to Charisma. Tiefling with a +2 bonus in Charisma. Choose the Zerial Tiefling for a +1 bonus in Strength as well if you want to use melee weapons. Half Elf with a +2 bonus to Charisma. Lightfoot Halfling with a +1 bonus to Charisma. Drow, a +1 bonus to Charisma and a +2 bonus in Dexterity. And finally Human again with a +1 bonus overall. Any of the above races will do, but either the Wood Elf or the Drow offer something special and more. Ability scores. As a cleric you should of course focus on Wisdom first and Charisma second. But how would you start with the other abilities? Let's go through them one by one. Strength, needed for using melee weapons and carrying stuff. If you're planning on fighting toe to toe with melee weapons, I would advise investing points in strength. About 14 or 15 points. Dexterity, the ability to dodge attacks, use dexterity based saving throws and attacking with ranged weapons such as crossbows. If you want to use more ranged weapons instead of melee weapons, invest in Dexterity, either 14 or 15 points. Constitution will improve your overall stamina and hit points. The higher your Constitution, the more hit points you will get every time you level up. You start with a default of 8 hit points. With 12th Constitution you will begin with a +1, so 9 hit points. And with a Constitution of 14 you start with a bonus of +2, so 10 hit points. Constitution is actually important for any class you play with, so start with at least 14. Intelligence affects intelligence skills and mage spells. Not needed for clerics, the default setting of 9 is perfect. Wisdom, your main most important ability. Begin with at least 16. High Wisdom is needed so your cleric spells will be more effective. And Charisma. For some saving throws a combination of Wisdom and Charisma is needed, so a high Charisma is pretty handy for a cleric, and it can be useful in some gameplay situations. Skills and Proficiencies. In general the skills and proficiencies are not that important for a cleric, but you do have to have some. Cleric starts out with the following proficiencies: light armor, medium armor, shield and simple weapon, which all allows him or her to use most weapons or types of armor, with exceptions of course being the more exotic types and heavy armor. But you have other classes for that. And a cleric can become proficient in 2 skills from the following: history, insight, medicine, persuasion and religion. Your class will start with a special action as well, concussive smash, which damages an enemy and has the chance of dazing him or her. Spells and cantrips. The cleric is first and foremost a user of magic, particularly focused on buffing and healing your own party, and damaging and manipulating your enemies, or debuffing your enemies. Cantrips are nifty spells that can be used at will every turn. Sacred Flame, for instance, is a cantrip that does damage and doesn't need a line of sight. However, enemy combatants with a high dexterity can quite easily avoid getting hit. You can cast the following cantrips: Resistance, Guidance, Sacred Flame, Light, Thaumaturgy and Fairy Fire. And next to that you have the following spells at level 1: Create Water, Guiding Bolt, Shield of Faith, Bane, Command, Healing Word, Inflict Wounds, Protection from Evil and Good, Bless and Cure Wounds. At level 1 you start with 3 cantrips and 5 spells. You can choose with which piles to start or choose a particular domain, which will make this decision for you. If you want to be a classical cleric, focus on healing spells like Healing Word and Cure Wounds. If you want to be a more supportive cleric, focus on buff spells like Guiding Bolt and Shield of Faith. Or be an evil or dark cleric and start with Inflict Wounds. Or use a combination. Backgrounds. Backgrounds are fun for both role-playing purposes and they give out an extra couple of nifty bonuses. Sage and Acolyte can be excellent backgrounds for a cleric, but any will do. However, keep in mind which race you choose as well. When for instance you pick a Lightfoot halfling, choosing an urchin background is redundant. You get the same benefits, so that background is wasted. You're better off choosing another. Domains. The domains are aspects of your character that come closest to the old evil, neutral and good alignments of the old Baldur's Gate games. You can pick between life, light and trickery, each of whom will give you certain bonus skills and spells. Life. A good cleric. The cleric with the life domain is more efficient and better with healing spells. Next to that you get the heavy armor proficiency, meaning you can use heavy armor and you are better protected. At level 2 you receive the Preserve Life action, and at level 3 you learn Lesser Restoration and Aid. Light. A more combat focused cleric, or neutral cleric if you will. You get Fairy Fire and Burning Hands as your domain spells. They are always prepared. At level 2 you receive the Radiance of Dawn action, and at level 3 you get Dark Vision, Scorching Ray, Aid and Lesser Restoration. Trickery. Evil or chaotic cleric as you will. You gain spells like Charm Person, Disguise Self from your domain. They are always prepared. You also get the Blessing of the Trickster, an action that grants another creature advantage on stealth checks. At level 2 you gain the Invoke Duplicity action, and at level 3 you get Mirror Image, Pass Without Trace, Aid and Lesser Restoration. Deities. Deities, or gods, don't give out special bonuses, at least not in the current edition of the game, but are part of the overall role-playing experience. You can choose from a variety of good, evil and neutral gods. How to play with a cleric. As I've said at the start of this video, the cleric is a combination of fighter, support class and magic user. In the original Baldur's Gate games, you could have a party of 6 and have the luxury of having your cleric remaining at the back during combat, buffing and healing the other party members where needed. Now you have a party of 4, so that's not an option anymore. Your cleric will have to get down and dirty every now and then, use a combination of buff and healing spells to improve the odds for your party, defensive spells against more tenacious enemies or against those out of reach. And of course, don't forget your melee and or range weapons. When not in combat, you can use certain buff spells or cantrips such as guidance to even the odds when a saving throw is needed. The cleric, while maybe not as sexy as a rogue or mage, is a very useful class, especially when you get to know and master the different spells better.